Give us free. Give us free.
Your Honor, please instruct the defendant that he cannot disrupt these proceedings with such outbursts.
Give us free. Give us free.
If we are to have any semblance of order in this country,
Give us free.
Peace, unity, and welcome my conscious and unconscious family and friends. This is the all-new BlackVillage Community Podcast, and I am truly your host of the show, JC, aka Afro Black, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut, without any fear, as I use my mic as a spear to chucker you with liberated truth. I am your host and your native soldier in the struggle. My purpose and mission for this show is first to enlighten, inform, and engage. And I want to engage with all who claim to know the truth. All truth seekers and my native family, I welcome you. This show is dedicated to all our indigenous native ancestors and to all those who've carried the mantle of truth, and to every person with the ability to throw off the chains of comfortable habit and unwarranted assumption and move in a new, liberated direction that is guided by truth and observational evidence, no matter where that direction may lead you. My main objective and purpose here is freedom, mind, soul, and spirit. That being said, welcome to the BlackVillage Community Podcast, and much love from our great universal goddess and mother of all, living here and above.
AC in the house.
I'll answer the question. You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth. Truth.
Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people.
Aboriginal means the original inhabitant of a land from the earliest times. The ancient mound builders that built and designed the pyramids right here, not just by the Nile, contrary to popular belief and denial. Pyramids and huge hieroglyphics and pictographs on the ground are all mounds found around the Americas, north, central, and south, even Venus and Mars. That is documented fact that emanates from my mouth. So who exactly were these Aboriginals here, whose ancient evidence of residency is hesitantly mentioned in this hemisphere? Were they the stereotypical Native American so-called Red Indians? Well then, let's be clear, ask any of their tribes if they're sincere. They'll tell ya those mounds predate their origins. Our past was erased and replaced with lies. Our achievements and identity plagiarized. We got amnesia of who we are, but we go way back further than the seats in your car.
Aboriginal people, 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 Aboriginal people.
This is how we ride and roll. Soldier for life for sure.
Hey, I am here today. This is JC, aka Afro Black, and I am here at the Black Village Community Podcast. I have made it here, people. I am here today. I'm glad to be here. I hope you're happy to be here too, because I'm happy to be here. You feel me? On a beautiful indigenous Sunday. So I'm here today to vibrate with my people. So let me change my theme music and give us a little something easy to vibrate to, because you know my intro music is not something I like to vibrate on. Let me give you some of this like this. Let me give you some of that like that right there. Ooh, yeah, in the backdrop. Some Tupac in the backdrop. I should put him in the backdrop right there, people. So I am here today. This is February. We are in the month of February 2019, people. And so I am here. This is JC, aka Afro Black. If you're joining me, if you're tuning in, if you just passed by me and you're hearing me, you are joining the Black Village. This is JC, aka Afro Black, and I am your host with the most. I am your moderator, and I am the MC of the Black Village. And we are here today to drop nothing but the raw and uncut, indigenous, aboriginal, raw and uncut truth. You feel me? That's what we do here on the so-called Black Village. I say so-called Black Village, people, because we're not black. Yeah, people. So if you're wondering why I call this the Black Village, I'm trying to draw folks in. Why I call this a Black Village? It's a metaphor, people, not to be taken literally. And that's why we got to know what we say, why we say. You feel? We got to be a people of truth. We got to be a people of intelligence. And today's podcast is a continuation. It's a continuation, people. This is a part four of why Bill Cosby's rise and fall hurt Black America. Again, let me say that again. We are in a part 4, people, of why. I'm going to say it again. Why Bill Cosby's rise and fall hurt a Black America. Subtitled, you can't handle the truth. And so we're going to continue this podcast that I've been doing for the past, this is the fourth session, but now I'm doing a show every other week. I'm not doing a podcast every Sunday like I used to. Now I do a podcast every other Sunday. Let me put this back in more in the backdrop. But there you go. Put Tupac in the backdrop a little bit more here. Okay. Now I do a podcast every other Sunday. I don't do a podcast every Sunday like I used to, people. You feel me? I don't do a podcast every Sunday like I used to. I've changed up my schedule, and so now my podcast airs every other Sunday. So I am still dropping the raw and uncut. I am still keeping the Black Village going and growing. You feel me? But I've changed my schedule. And there's some other updates I want to speak on before I go into the Bill Cosby topic and continue this session and letting you guys know who that Negro is, that Bill Cosby was a house Negro sellout working for the elite, grew up himself in a middle-class home, or middle-class, upper-class home, might I say. You feel me? He grew up around white people. Bill Cosby didn't grow up in the hood. So before I continue with that, let me continue with the updates. As I was saying, I spoke on this the week before last. As I said, I'm changing my schedule, so you will be able to join the Black Village every other Sunday in a live session. So just like when this podcast is over, I'm not going to be doing it next Sunday. I'll be doing the Sunday after next. So, as well as another update, Google is shutting down. So, and the reason why I'm bringing this to the forefront, and the reason why I'm bringing this up on the podcast under my updates, bringing up this is part of my update situation here as I speak on this, is due to the fact that I have a forum on Google Communities. And so that forum won't be there no more. They're closing down the Google Plus. They're shutting down, Google is shutting down their Google Plus, so there won't be no Google Communities no more. And so the Black Village won't be on Google Communities no more. I will continue my my Black Village on Facebook. I've always had one on Facebook. I've had that. Matter of fact, the first Black Village I created was on Facebook. And so that forum has always been there. But the one I have on Google Communities will be shutting down on April. I believe it was April 1st that Google is shutting down their Google Plus, which will include the Google Communities. So you can still check out the Black Village on Facebook. You feel me? The Black Village Community Forum on Facebook. And so you can find me there, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut, indigenous, aboriginal, historical truth, photos, pictures, information, historical information, books, PDF files on us as a people, that we are not African or African Americans, but we are indigenous to North America, making those who they call blacks, colored, Negroes, that we are actually American Indians, people. And that's what I do. That's what I spread. That's what I talk about. And that's what I continue to raise, cultural consciousness. That's what the Black Village is all about, people. So on that note, now getting down to Bill Cosby, okay? I plan on, like I told you last week, I'm going to continue this session. I'm going to continue this session in this show to prove by standard of opinion. Yes, this is my viewpoint. This is my perspective by standard of opinion, that Bill Cosby was an elitist house Negro who hated poor so-called Black Americans, aka aka American Aborigines. I plan on proving I still plan on proving my three main points that prove that Bill Cosby couldn't have related or connect to the common folk, so to speak, meaning Bill could not connect in any way other than his melanated skin tone to the average so-called Black American. My first case in point, and I pointed out last week, Bill's fraudulent background. This in itself explains why the fact that why Bill Cosby couldn't and didn't relate to so-called the Black community. Why he didn't do nothing for the Black community. Why he looked down on the Black community. Why he even wrote negative things and got in the press and said negative things about so-called Black people. Because he couldn't relate to us, people. Because he could not relate to us, people. Okay? And so when you continue on, Bill was, as they talk about, whenever Bill talk about his history, and if you notice, Bill Cosby never talked about his parents. Bill Cosby never speaks about his parents, never speaks about his siblings, and most people don't even know that Bill Cosby has three brothers. He has two living brothers. One passed away, but Bill Cosby has three brothers. He's the oldest of three brothers. Most people don't know this because of the propaganda that's put on the internet, the propaganda that's put in books on Bill Cosby, the propaganda that Bill wanted put out there for people to know. Because, now you got those out there that say, well, Bill Cosby was so private. Bill Cosby, didn't want to be out in the, in the forefront. So, that's why he kept his life so hid from everybody, because he was he's a private man. No, Bill Cosby wanted us to know only when he wanted us to know, which was not the truth. And I'm going to say this this in reference to Bill Cosby's privacy. This man posed himself as America's so-called Black American father figure to America. He accepted that title. He accepted that position. But yet he kept his private life, or what they call his private life, private. Well, no. What about your history, Bill Cosby? If you're going to be a father figure, shouldn't you tell people about your father? If you're going to be a father figure, shouldn't you speak about your family? If you're going to call yourself helping other people's families by giving them this image, by showing them how they should behave and how fathers should interact with their families and children, how families should be living together. That's what the Huxtable Bill Cosby show was all about. That's what the continuation of Bill Cosby's comedy with children and Bill Cosby's image with the populace and with the media and with so-called Black people. That's what he was doing. He was trying to feed us an image of what was acceptable, not only to white people, but what should be acceptable to us. This is what Bill Cosby was doing for the white community. He was not doing this for us. He was not doing this for him. He was doing this for white people, for the white elite, and for those house Negro elite that live next door to those elite white devils. This is what Bill Cosby was doing, people. This is what Bill Cosby, this was his legacy. This is the legacy that they don't want to talk about. They only want to continue that falsified image that they've wanted us to accept. They don't want to talk about the truth about Bill Cosby. They don't want to tell anybody the truth about his real motive and what he was doing, working for the industry, working for the entertainment industry, and the devils behind the entertainment industry that was giving him this floor mat and his platform to do this on. From the 60s through the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. Yes, people, this is the truth. This is the raw and uncut truth. The purpose, now you saying, well, JC, what is your point? What is the point you're trying to make? My point is this, that Bill Cosby was continuing cultural genocide. Bill Cosby was continuing the assimilation process of destroying any thought, any history, any culture, any image of our indigenous past here in North America. Bill Cosby was a part of that process, people. That's the raw and uncut truth. That's the truth that Negroes don't want to accept. That's the truth that his house Negro fans don't want to accept. Raw and uncut, people. Raw and motherfucking uncut. I'm not going to lie to you. JCAK Afro Black is going to give you the raw and uncut. That's what I want. That's what I feed on. That's what I'm going to, and that's what I'm going to serve people. I'm not going to serve you a lie. I'm not going to serve you an imagination. I'm not going to serve you a fantasy. I'm not going to serve you a television image. I'm going to serve you the truth. Bill Cosby did not talk about his parents. He didn't talk about his father, his mother, his brothers. He didn't talk about his home, his upbringing, the way he was raised. He didn't talk about how his father interacted with him, how his father motivated him. He didn't talk about anything that he presented to the community as an image of a father figure. He didn't talk about rather if he had a bad history, if he had a bad past, if he had bad parents, if his father was abusive, or if his father was an alcoholic, if his mother was neglected him in any way, if he didn't get the nurturing that he needed to get from his mother. And this is the reason why he came to America, to give America what they needed, because he didn't get what he needed. He didn't talk like that, people. He didn't talk about that. He kept his history from the so-called black community for a reason, people. Why did he keep it from us? Because he wanted to present to us an image, an African-American image, a black American image that the white devil has been perpetuating to the indigenous people, to the children of the indigenous people, to the descendants of the indigenous people here in North America, people. The same thing they're doing to the indigenous brothers and sisters in Central America and South America. These white devils are carrying on the same agenda of their colonized parents. They're still doing it today, people. I'm coming raw and uncut today. I'm coming raw and motherfucking uncut today. You feel me? I don't give a fuck about the motherfuckers who don't listen to me. No, I don't. The reason why I don't care about the people who don't listen to me, they're already lost. They're already gone. They already sold out to the white devil and his assimilated process. They don't care. They like living like Africans, even though they're not. They like abandoning the true ancestral culture that is actually genetically, biologically, historically divested in this country and connected to them. They like severing that connection and then giving it to a foreign land, to a foreign people, because the white man said to do so. They enjoy that. It feeds their spirit. It feeds their ego. It feeds that false sense of security that the white man has turned their hearts and their minds into, people. And that's what's going on today. That's what's continuing today, and that's what we're doing by feeding our children the same assimilated lie. That's what we do when we feed our children the same assimilated lie, people. We don't listen. We don't care. You know what? We rather hear and believe that Bill Cosby cared about kids. That's what we rather believe. Bill Cosby continued the same assimilated mess that he was doing in the 70s. I played, the week before last, I played a video and an audio showing that Bill Cosby perpetuated negativity about black folks in the 60s. When I played that interview where him in a school setting talking about black kids who shouldn't know anything about history, and black kids who are, I guess, depressed because their drawings, comparing a white kid's drawing to a black kid drawing and showing that the black kid's drawing has no arms and no legs, and that the white kid has a whole drawing of a whole person. So that means that the black kid is a shadow figure. The black kid he's just going to be this bad kid. Bill Cosby worked with the white devil to perpetuate negativity in the black community, people. Yes, he did. He's been doing this for years. Let me play. You know what? I got an update I want to also talk about. Last week when I talked about Claude Brown, Claude Brown, who's the author of the 1965 book titled Man, Child in the Promised Land, because Bill Cosby, I also played an excerpt in one of my podcast sessions on Bill Cosby. If you go back and listen to my past podcast, which I got, other than the one I'm doing right now today, I got 3 other podcasts on Bill Cosby. I've been doing this. It's been a session been going on for a few weeks now, and I'm going to continue it until I'm done with this, people. But I played the video. I'm gonna play it again. Matter of fact, let me play this again. Okay, let me play this again. Proving my point about House Nigga Bill. Let me play this, and we shall return right after this, people. Right after this audio cast, right here.
12 years. All I read about are white people, you know. And now we're going to have this course, and this course is 20 weeks long. And you say all you can give us is 1 or 2 books by black authors because you don't think there are any other reputable black authors out there, you know. What is that to tell me? You know, it's the same thing all the other kids are going through in the schools. Because all they're being told is that, well, there's no one else out there that's really writing anything that's literature. They're writing a whole lot of garbage. You know?
Sure, you know? Sure.
And like I suggested to him, Eldridge Cleaver, Soul on Ice. Well, he says that's not literature. He says just a whole lot of writing. You know?
What about man-child in the promised land?
Yeah.
What about man-child in the promised land? What about man-child? What about man-child? What about man-child? What about man-child in the promised land?
There you go, right there, people. So that man-child in the promised land. Bill Cosby wouldn't comment on Brother Eldridge Cleaver's book, Soul on Ice. The reason why he's not going to comment on that book, because that's a book that made the white man very uncomfortable. And that book, Soul on Ice, which I'm going to do a podcast on that. I'm going through that book, and I'm going to go through that book thoroughly, and I'm going to do a podcast on that book. I've listened to an audio cast. I'm not going to say I read the book, but I listened to an audio book on the book, and the book is very good. Very good book, Soul on Ice, but the book does what Bill avoids. What is that? Brother Eldridge Cleaver puts right in the white man's face his racism, his bigotry, his chauvinism. He puts it right out there. How the white man manipulates, lies, put false evidence against people just to lock them up, corrupt from the rooter to the tutor. Brother Soul on Ice by Brother Eldridge Cleaver. He puts the information right there in the face of the white man, and anybody who wants to read it, he puts it in your face. And that's why Bill did not comment on that book. But he did comment on a book, though. He gave the brother another book to read. He gave the brother a book that's 5 years older than Soul on Ice by Brother Cleaver. He gave the brother another book. He gave the brother a book by a man by the name of Claude Brown. Claude Brown, in my opinion, is a house nigga. Oh, well, I got some audio casts I want to play. An interview that Claude Brown gave back in the 1960s in reference to his book. But before I do that, let me give you a little update on Brother Claude Brown, who wrote the book Man, Child in the Promised Land, the very book that House Nigga Bill promoted to that young man, not commenting on Brother Eldridge Cleaver, because I know why Bill didn't want to comment on Brother Eldridge Cleaver, because Brother Eldridge Cleaver was a former Black Panther Party member. Claude Brown was never a Black Panther Party member, and that's because he was a house nigga. So let me tell you about Brother Claude Brown, who Bill Cosby did endorse to the young man. Okay, I first want to comment on the fact that, let me not go about my monologue. Okay, Claude Brown, I got his little bio right here. Brother Claude Brown, okay, is the author of Man, Child in the Promised Land, published to a critical acclaim in 1965. The book was critically acclaimed. It was it was one of the best-selling books, which tells the story of his coming of age during the 1940s and 50s in Harlem. He also published Children of Ham. Okay, this is by Claude Brown. Claude Brown, okay, he died in 2002. Okay. All right, now, so let me play this. Let me see, let me go a little bit further into his bio. Okay, I got another article right here. Should have this up. Here's another bio on Claude Brown before I play the audio cast. before I play the interview. Okay, Claude Brown was born in 1937. He was the same age as Bill Cosby. And he died in 2002. Novelist Claude Brown was born in New York City on February 23rd, 1937, to parents who had migrated from the South. So he was indigenous, most likely. From a very young age, he was involved in small-time crime on the streets and was in and out of institutions, including a psychiatric hospital and a reform school, until the age of 16, when he entered Washington Irving High School in Manhattan. Brown's wit and skills impressed his instructors, and he graduated in 1957, supporting himself with numerous odd jobs. He enrolled at Howard University in Washington, D.C., where he earned a BA in 1965. One of his instructors at Howard was the author of Toni Morrison, who critiqued his writings. Okay, so that's a little bit right there on the brother. Got to give it to him. He did work his way up. But that's not going to excuse what you finna hear in a minute in this interview that this brother did, which shows that he was nothing but a house nigga. Let me play this right quick. Let me play this. And you tell me, okay? You tell me. Here we go right here. This is a 1965 interview with Claude Brown. A white man is interviewing him about his life on the streets. And you tell me if this nigga is not a house nigga or not. And I got a 3-part interview with this. I'm gonna let y'all hear this interview. So you tell me, y'all, you be the judge. You be the judge after you hear this. Check this out.
My child delinquent career was a real ball. You know, it was an exciting adventure to me. I was a delinquent not because I was forced to. I was a delinquent because I wanted to be one. Yes. You know, all of these things.
Was your idea of being good, as you say in the book somewhere? They can tell you to be good, and this is the way you knew how to be good. I was
enjoying life as I came, and many of the people I came up with were enjoying life also. They were enjoying taking drugs. They were enjoying shooting each other. They were enjoying the gang fights. We all enjoyed it. It was a ball. It gave us a sort of social status, and we enjoyed stealing.
You were making a rep all
That's
the
right.
time, as you put it. Reputation.
This was meaningful to us in life, and it was perhaps the most meaningful experience available to us at the time. But many of the other guys with whom I came up weren't able to perceive it was time to stop playing here and now. You know, if I'd gone to Coxsackie, I would have had a criminal record which would have presented an obstacle in the way of my advancement, economic and social advancement for the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And this was the time when I had to make a choice. I had to find a way to avoid going on along the roster of the New York State penal institutions. You know, like I would have gone to Coxsackie, Elmira, Auburn, Dannemora, Sing Sing, and eventually Attica, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Or if I didn't make the electric, Attica is the top security prison in New York.
Uh-huh. So at the age of 16, you just decided that was it. You'd had your sort of childish fun and games, and if you didn't cut it right there, you'd be through for life.
That's right. At 16, the party was over.
Yeah, but what did you didn't have any specific ambitions at 16, though, when you talk about economic and social advance. A lot of people who talk about
I knew I wanted to make money. I wanted to make money, and I didn't want to spend too much time in jail in the process of making this money.
Say right now, we go out on these streets, and there's 16-year-old kids walking around. Do they have any feeling that there are chances for them, that they can make it big in the world?
Well, I didn't have any feeling that there were chances for me, but I knew it was out there somewhere, and I had to get it.
You had to get it, you yourself, by yourself.
That's right.
And it didn't really occur to you that being a Negro was, obviously occurred to you was going to make it difficult, but it didn't occur to you to make it impossible as a kid. Did it occur to any of your friends that it was impossible for them?
No, I don't think we thought too much about it. We knew what we wanted, and we were so involved in our problems that we never gave too much thought to the social and, economic restraints on us.
Yeah.
All we knew was that we had to get it, and we wanted to get it then and there,
In some way. Well, like all kids.
I live in Harlem now. I've lived in Harlem all my life. I've never tried to be white. I've never had any desire to be white. I've never tried to be white. I've never had any desire to be white. And
you think Martin Luther King has a desire to be white?
the people on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still speak to them in Argo. There are very few people around here that know me by Claude Brown. If they went, it's still Sonny Boy, and that's fine with me, you know. And I know them by, well, whatever their nicknames are. We grew up together. I still feel as though I'm an integral part of the Harlem community. I still feel as though I'm an integral part.
There you go, people. You heard it. You heard the house nigga talking? Huh? Talking about how he enjoyed doing crimes. As if this is, giving the image. I'm not sure if he was really recognizing what he was doing by talking to this white devil. And then if you hear the last part, he says he doesn't want to be, what is that guy? What is he making his plea to, trying to, because he know he's guilty of making black folks, so-called black people look bad. He's making so-called black Americans look bad by saying that, he enjoyed killing, he enjoyed drugs, he enjoyed doing bad things, he enjoyed being a criminal. So he's giving this image that young black men enjoy doing these things, not giving the background to the fact that there's a whole history that leads up to that type of mindset and that type of mentality. A lifestyle and a mindset that the majority of so-called white Americans know nothing of, because they don't live in the conditions that so-called black people are living in. They don't live they don't live in the economic conditions, they don't live in the environmental conditions, and they don't live in the social conditions that so-called black people are living with and live in. And when you don't live with those type of conditions and situations, it doesn't contribute to that mindset. Now, why do I call Claude Brown a house nigga? Not only because he's sitting there giving this falsified image, generalizing. Now, maybe he enjoyed doing that, but what do you mean? How are you going to make it seem like that this is something that the majority of so-called young black men who are participating in this is something that they enjoy? Oh, well, come on, let me play that again. Maybe somebody didn't hear this.
My childhood delinquent career was a real ball. It was an exciting adventure to me. I was a delinquent not because I was forced to. I was a delinquent because I wanted to be one. Yes. All of these things.
Was your idea of being good, as you say somewhere?
There you go, right there. House nigga. House nigga words coming out his mouth because he has a house nigga mind. And that's not the only. Let me let you. I got a part two. Now I got to admit there's a part. He knows he's being a house nigga. He knows it because he knows it's wrong to be that way. In this second part of the interview with Claude speaking with this white man, some of his real belief comes out, and it offends the white man. He cleans it up towards the end of his interview. He kisses that white man's boots towards the end of his interview. But so, let me say, when I say somebody's a house nigga, that don't mean they don't know the truth. House niggas know what they're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're conditioned to think and act and behave a certain way, and you don't know any better, because you don't know what you're doing is wrong, that's different. But what makes a house nigga is that they know what they're doing is wrong. A house nigga is not ignorant of his behavior. A house nigga is not ignorant of what he's of his sellout mentality, that he doesn't know what he's doing is wrong because he was raised that way. A house nigga know that he don't care about his people. A house nigga know that he's willing to bend over and sell his soul, sell his mama and his sister, and roll over them, ride over them underneath the bus to give him a step ahead and to give him a seat at the white devil's table. He know that's wrong, but he's willing to do that. And let me let you hear this second interview, and you will see exactly that. You are going to see it again. He this time he speaks some truth. In the second interview, he speaks a little truth. But he turns around in the last part of the interview, you're going to see that he going to bend over and lick that white man's boots. Let me let you hear this again. This is Claude Brown. Claude Brown, the author of the book that Bill Cosby promoted in the interview called Man-Child in the Promised Land. A book that he loves. This is the author. So let me let you hear the second part of Claude Brown's interview right now.
The statistics, I know you hate statistics and you hate social science and all that sort of thing, but there's a certain crude truth in these reports. Recently, a report on the Negro family was made as the so-called Moynihan report. It hasn't been made public yet, and one of the things it stresses is the very high rate of illegitimacy in Harlem. I don't know, something like 44% of all births last year. And it talks about the difficulty of kids growing up with an absent father, which of course was not your case. You did grow up with a family, a father and mother, and sisters and a brother. Just one brother, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you feel that this is a really crucial problem? I mean, from the way you look at it, say from the way you look at it as a Harlem kid, or do you think that this sort of analysis is misguided? And
tell me something. Why do you think that various government, city and federal government agencies are always so anxious to come up with a report? You know, the people in Harlem don't need any reports.
What do they need?
The people in Harlem need people who are sincerely interested in them as members of the power structure. What they need is genuine representation.
Right.
And this is something which they don't have.
Yeah, but how do they get it? That's we started talking about that before. How do they get it?
How do they get it? They get it by the power structure, the administration.
Which power structure are you talking about now?
The general, from the Harlem power structure on up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, throughout to the top, the federal power structure.
All right.
Yeah.
The White House on down.
Yeah, just, you know, go here and study the communities themselves. Don't sit around and give something to some psychologist who knows less about it than they do, actually. He's been sleeping in a book all of his life. They're going to give it to him and say, yeah, tell me about those Negroes. And all he gets is a psychological report that says nothing.
Well, nevertheless, it says something when you're talking about Harlem and you're wondering, for example.
I'll tell you what it says, Norman. You know what it says? It says, well, here is the most recent word on the Negro community. And now you can take this and mull over it for another couple years and forget the Negro until that time. That's all it has said. That's all it says today.
Well, you still, though, haven't answered my question, the one I started with. Which is, do you think that this business of illegitimacy, of large numbers of illegitimate kids,
is no big problem, really?
Why not?
Because people will look. You give people nothing materially, nothing spiritually. Well, what have they got? They've got instincts and urge. Sex is the most natural thing in the world.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's not a big problem.
Yeah, it's not a problem here that the community isn't that concerned about it. If they're so concerned about you know what you're saying, actually.
Well, I'm asking. I'm not saying.
You're saying now, wouldn't it be nice if we could get the Negroes to accept what little they have in the ghettos throughout the nation and still not have too many illegitimate children?
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Why should the Negroes who've been so deprived in this country for so long worry about the power structures? Disturbance over their high rate of illegitimacy.
Nobody is suggesting that they ought to worry about the power structure's disturbance. The question is whether this is a factor.
No, that's not the problem. It's merely a symptom of the overall problem. Illegitimacy, drug addiction. Why doesn't anybody say anything about drug addiction?
Yeah, let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about drugs.
There you go, people. There you go. Now you heard him. Now, right now, you might say, oh well, you can't call my house nigga JC. He was just dropping some raw and uncut truth. He was correcting that white man. Yes, he was correcting that white man. Yes, he was dropping some truth. He was making sure the white man didn't get off the point of the truth. He was making sure the white man didn't talk about something that was not an issue, that's not a problem, that's not really affecting the so-called black community. It affects the white community to see the so-called black community grow. It affects the white community who can't have babies, who's constantly trying to have 1,000 babies at once. You know, a pregnant white woman have 15 babies in one because she go through the fertility drugs, and now she having 12 babies at one time because she couldn't have one. So this is something that the white community mostly go through. Huh? Oh yes, the white devil been trying to find out through our food and through our water, without hurting the white community, how to bring down the black population if you go through history, so there was some raw uncut truth he was given, but I called him a house nigga, didn't I? I said Claude Brown is a house nigga, huh? Yeah, I did. He is a house nigga. Because I want you right now, he finna to kiss this white man's ass for arguing with this white man. I'm finna play the last interview. I'm finna play the last part of the interview. And then this last part of the interview, you're going to see him clean up what he just did to that white man, talking to that white man like that. Because you know damn well that white man's feelings is hurt right now because Claude was just dropping the raw and uncut on him and basically not letting him point out a falsity and trying to make it into a fact. And he stopped it by saying, no, it's not an issue. It's natural it is natural for two people to have sex. He was telling the truth. But watch this. Watch him show his house niggerish ass in the last part of this interview. You be the judge. This is what I see. So check it out.
But you yourself always knew that drugs was bad business. You escaped it from the beginning, and you always knew it was the worst kind of thing. You think that the legalization...
I didn't always know this was the worst kind of thing. I would have been a drug addict had I not had such a traumatic experience
the first time.
in my first attempt at getting high off drugs. Well, I thought I was going to die. Mm-hmm. And so I never went on. But the other two people who tried it with me for the first time, they went on to become drug addicts. And a majority of many people who tried it for the first time, even though they got sick, almost deathly sick, they still went on to become drug addicts.
Mm-hmm. Well, Claude, some of what you say sort of implies that you're not terribly concerned about the idea or the ideal of integration. Is that true? I mean, that is, do you look forward to a time when whites and Negroes will be living side by side together everywhere with no regard for color, or do you think that that's a less important goal?
Norman, to be realistic, when speaking about integration, look, there's alienation even within ethnic groups. There's sure discrimination within ethnic groups. You can't tell some guy who doesn't like drinking, and who doesn't like violence to live next door to a guy who's always getting drunk and beating up his wife. Mm-hmm. Like, it's the same thing. You can't tell a Negro, like, look, there's some nice white people around, go and live with them, or there's some nice Negroes, go and live with them. I don't think this is really important. If you treated Negroes as fairly as whites were treated in the country, the power structure treated them, that is, mm-hmm. there would be no clamor for integration. I don't think Negroes are too anxious to live among white people. They would just like to have the freedom to live wherever they chose.
While you were talking before, I sensed a certain kind of anger in you and a certain kind of bitterness. Have you changed since the book was written, or am I wrong in my reading of the book?
No. You see, I was bitter. It's natural for any Negro to be bitter towards the white society. But as I was coming up, I was releasing all of my bitterness throughout my childhood. Mm-hmm. That's what my delinquent activities were all about. It was a rebellion.
It was more a rebellion against your parents than against the whites, wasn't it? No. I stole very little from my parents. They had very little to steal. Yeah, I stole more from the white society. I mean, you were rebelling against the down home.
I told you, we were rebelling against everything. That's right. From the top on down. Mm-hmm. Now, what you just said about my lack of bitterness, it's like I can't go around. I could never become a black chauvinist because I've been helped along the way, immensely by white people. It's hard for somebody, like if you're laying down on the ground, dying, and some Negro has stabbed you and laid you down there and left you to bleed, and a lot of other Negroes come by and watch you, and step over you or step on you on the way, and some white man comes and picks you up. How do you say, oh, that no good white man, let me kill him? You've got to be a madman. Yeah, so where do you get the bitterness from?
All I can say is that in about 4 or 8 years, I hope we're going to be seeing you as Congressman Brown.
I hope so too.
There you go. There you go. Did you hear him clean it up? Did you hear him clean it up for that white man? Huh? Did you hear him clean it up before the interview was over? Huh? Do I need you to hear it again? Huh? Let me let you hear it again. He cleaned it up for the white man. The white man thought he would say, well, I know you was dealing with anger, when you was locked up. Have you dealt with that anger? I still sense a little anger in you. The white man, and he had to clean that up to make that white man feel good. Let him play that again.
No. I stole very little from my parents. They had very little to steal. Yeah, I stole more from the white society.
I mean, you were rebelling against the down home.
I told you, we were rebelling against everything. That's right. From the top on down. Mm-hmm. Now, what you just said about my lack of bitterness, It's like I can't go around. I can never become a black chauvinist because I've been helped along the way, immensely by white people. It's hard for somebody, like if you're laying down on the ground, dying, and some Negro has stabbed you and laid you down there and left you to bleed, and a lot of other Negroes come by and watch you, and step over you or step on you on the way, and some white man comes and picks you up. How do you say, oh, that no good white man, let me kill him? You've got to be a madman. Yeah, so where do you get the bitterness from?
All I can say is that in about 4 or 8 years, I hope we're going to be seeing you as Congressman Brown.
I hope so too.
There you go, right there. There you go. After he cleaned it up, made that white man feel better, he said, "I hope I see you as Congressman Brown." And I'm gonna tell you, years later, them are the type of Negroes you see sitting in Congress. There's some sitting up there right now, the very ones that used to walk with Dr. Martin Luther King, sitting right there in Congress today. They ain't did nothing on a national scale to really benefit or impact the so-called black community because they were house Negroes when they were with Dr. Martin Luther King, and them old-ass house Negroes are sitting in Congress today. So, people, we got to realize the truth. That Negro is a house Negro. He starts off his interview trying to make the black community look bad by talking about how he enjoyed doing crimes, how he enjoyed doing drugs. And then in the middle of his interview, he drops some raw and uncut. You see a little bit of that militant side of him. So that's why I say every house nigga knows the truth. But then at the end of his interview, he start licking boots. He start to lick the white man's boot because the white man says he sounds like he's angry and bitter. And so he had to prove to that white man, I'm not angry and bitter, because if a black man stabbed me and left me for dead and a white man picked me up, how can I say big bad white man? House nigga. So that's my assessment. Now on that point, back to Brother Bill Cosby. What does this have to do with Bill Cosby? Well, Bill Cosby promoted that man's book. The man's book was a bestseller. It was a critically acclaimed, according to his bio. His book became that means everybody bought that book. White folks bought that book. So-called black folks bought that book. And it made the man a lot of money. Okay? So promoting a house Negro, you feel me, doesn't surprise me that Bill promoted him, because Bill's a house nigga too. He didn't comment not one time on the book Soul on Ice by brother Eltridge Cleaver. He didn't why? Because you did. Yeah, he knew about that book. He knew about that book. That's why he didn't say nothing about it. That's why he stayed away from it. That's why he just mentioned another book instead of commenting on it. So again, when I say there's 3 things I want to point out about Bill Cosby, number 1, I want to point out he's a house Negro. Number 3, I'm gonna prove that he fabricated his life. His life is a lie. He did not grow up in no projects. He did not grow up in nowhere in nothing considered poverty or impoverished of that time or even today. Okay? And then thirdly, I'm going to prove that Bill Cosby was promoting the white devil's assimilated agenda of cultural genocide on the descendants of the indigenous Aboriginal Americans. This is what House Nigga Bill was doing. Okay? Bill was thirdly, I'm going to prove that Bill Cosby was promoting an assimilated process of cultural genocide to the descendants and the children of American Aborigines, with that image of what he called a father figure image of the Bill Cosby Huxtable, raw and uncut. Okay, now since I already let you hear a little bit about, I let you hear some Claude Anderson, and I know I only got an hour to work with, but I got some more information, people. I got some more information. When I say Bill Cosby did not grow up in poverty, when I say Bill Cosby did not grow up in any projects, I mean that. Bill Cosby claims in his bio that he grew up, he spent the bulk of his life before going to college through high school. He spent it in the Richard Allen projects. Well, people, I want you to know, when those so-called projects were built, they weren't called projects. They were built in 1941. The Richard Allen homes were built in 1941, and they were not called projects. They were called the Richard Allen homes. Let me give you a little backdrop on what I'm talking about, people. Look, you can go find this information. This is an article on the Richard Allen homes. It's called "The Truth About Philadelphia's public housing, people. And let me give you a little excerpt from this book, or this book called The Truth About the Philadelphia Public Housing. It goes like this. The history of public housing in Philadelphia has been documented extensively in John F. Bowman's Public Housing, Race, Renewal, and Urban Planning in Philadelphia. It's another book. So he said it's been. So I'm reading from this book, and again, let me start from the beginning. It starts like this from the very beginning, and I quote: "The history of public housing in Philadelphia has been documented extensively in John F. Bowman's Public Housing, Race and Renewal, Urban Planning in Philadelphia from 1920 to 1974. Within the broad topic of public housing in Philadelphia, 8 housing projects, including Richard Allen homes, that's what they call it. They didn't call them projects. It says homes, okay? Including Richard Allen homes, were built and or operated by the Philadelphia Housing Authority, okay, prior to 1945. For a brief period of time, these 8 projects were differentiated as low rent versus permanent defense worker housing. The latter were redesigned for families of low income after the Second World War. Okay, now, again, people, the Richard Allen homes, which later on became the projects, were built in 1941. And at that time, World War II was on its way, was coming in. The country was getting ready for war, a Second World War. And so immediately the federal government came in and turned those homes into housing for military officers and workers who worked for companies that did contracts with the military. Well, due to the fact that Bill Cosby's father was a pretty good ranking officer, he was not no low grade officer, he was about a mid-grade to a upper mid-grade officer. He made good money. They moved him right into the Richard Allen homes. They were not called the Richard Allen projects. That term projects did not come into play until later on, around the 1960s. And I want you to know they also used the word and played with the word whenever they wanted to use the word for the populace or those who they were considered after the 1950s. Because after the 1950s, they moved, a lot of those white people started moving out of the Richard Allen homes. They started leaving the area. A lot of the military guys were moving out, moving into housing. So by the time of the 1960s, all of a sudden it became the Richard Allen projects. Now they're moving so-called blacks into these projects that they used to call homes for white people, but now they become projects for the so-called black populace. This is what these white devils do. They still play word games today. They play word games, people, for a reason. They use word games and word magic on their own people. And we don't know this because we pay no attention to it. So again, people, this means that the Richard Allen homes / projects weren't available to the impoverished so-called black Philadelphians community until after World War II or 1945. This verifiable historical proof that Bill Cosby grew up not in any type of object of poverty, but grew up a military brat around mostly white people on military status and respect throughout his childhood. Bill Cosby's life is a lie. He didn't know nothing about poverty. He knew nothing of poverty. Bill didn't know what it's like not to miss a meal. Bill didn't know. He never knew what that was like. To wonder where his food was going to come from. To wondering if he can get a new pair of shoes because the shoes on his feet got holes in it, and he can see his he got flapjack on his shoes. The sole of his feet, the sole has come loose on his shoe, and he got flapjack on his shoe. Bill don't know what that's like. He never knew what that was like. His brothers never knew what that was like. Okay? Research it, people, yourself. I challenge any house Negro to come on the Black Village and challenge anything I'm saying about Bill right now. I challenge any house Negro, any supporter of Bill Cosby. Yes, you're a house Negro. If you believe this Negro did not rape women, lived in poverty in the Richard Allen projects, which is a lie. Bill never lived in poverty. He don't know what poverty is. Bill never lived in poverty. He don't know what poverty is. The most tragic thing that ever happened to Bill Cosby as a child growing up, his father was addicted to alcohol. But then you know what? The military does that to a lot of men anyway. Turn you into alcoholics. They can't do drugs, but they can drink themselves to death until their liver turns into a piece of alcohol. Bill Cosby, life is a lie, people. So again, in 1941, those projects were not built for the so-called black. And then you got a lot of people out there writing on, when they write on the Richard Allen projects, they say, oh, Richard Allen projects is a poor project where it's impoverished and crime. It is today. The community looks terrible today. It didn't look like that in 1940. Didn't look like that in 1950. Didn't look like that in 1960 either. You know why? Because for some reason, when black folks, or so-called black folks, move into a community, white flight takes place. Huh? For some reason, when black folks move into a community, white flight takes place. And what happens? The property value goes down. What happens? Your landlords become slumlords. What happens? The people that come and clean the streets, the machine that comes through early in the morning and clean the streets, they don't do that no more. Huh? The mailman that used to come on time, now he's coming late. Oh, you don't know when your mailman coming, but the mailman used to come on time when white folks was there. White folks didn't have to be worried about what time their mail was coming. They knew when their mail was coming. Huh? People who used to deliver in that area, milk, bread, groceries, now they don't deliver in that area no more because white folks don't live there no more. This is not only in Philadelphia. This is in Detroit. This is in Los Angeles. This is in New York. This is in Chicago. This is in Michigan. This is anywhere where there's large populations of American Aborigines. Anywhere where they want to call us so-called Black Americans / African Americans, when all in reality, they're doing the same thing they were doing to our ancestors when these European colonizers got here, and they're carrying on the same agenda, and they're doing it to our children and our children's children up to the present day, people. We got to wake up. Raw and uncut just like that. But to continue my point about House Nigga Bill, who had no connection with the so-called black community, that's what he couldn't relate to us. The only thing he could do was put up an image that he wanted us to aspire to. And why wouldn't somebody want to aspire to having a nice home, having both parents make good money because they both got good jobs? Bill playing I think he was a psychiatrist or whatever, or a doctor. His wife was a lawyer. And if you look at, when you watch the Bill Cosby show, it appears they're living in a upper middle class community. You don't see nobody coming like somebody from the hood coming over to visit. You don't see any relatives that look like they come from Oak Park or come from South Central or come from Harlem or come from, you don't look, the Fifth Ward. You don't look like nobody on the show look like anybody came from the hood. Anybody on that show that was trying to play like that, they looked like they was a wannabe, like they were just playing. Didn't look like anybody really from the hood. That's why any scenes from the Bill Cosby show where it looked like they're dealing with the hood, it looks so phony and fake. Just like the Fresh Prince. Will Smith know nothing about the hood. Will Smith didn't grow up in the hood. Will Smith grew up in a middle upper class community, middle upper class home. Will Smith know nothing about the hood. Knew nothing, knows nothing, still today. I don't care how much, and Will Smith is he's an intelligent brother. Very intelligent brother. Don't get it twisted. But he can't tell me and some of the people I know nothing about the hood. So if you don't know nothing about the hood, what have you tried to know? Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying Bill Cosby is guilty for what he don't know. I'm not saying he's guilty for where he grew up and how he grew up. I'm saying he's guilty for perpetrating a front. I'm saying he's guilty for lying about his childhood and his bio. I'm saying he's guilty for carrying on the white man's agenda of cultural assimilation, not caring about our true history. And if you don't think Bill Cosby knew the truth about our history, knowing that we were American Aborigines, I got some proof on that too. I got some information. I don't think I'm gonna have time to play it today, but I got some proof to show. Bill knew. He knew who we are. Let me play this right quick, this audio cast right quick. I know I haven't read. I had an excerpt I wanted to read from the book that I've been reading since I've been on this subject matter. The book I've been reading titled Aristocrats of Color, South and North, the Black Elite from 1880 to 1920. I had a chapter, a page I wanted to read, proving my point about, excuse me, about the Black Elite, and that the fact that the Black Elite are not nobody to aspire to. They nobody to look up to. They don't like us. They don't want to be us. They don't want to have nothing to do with what they call the so-called poor American Aborigines. They don't have the Black Elite don't like us. The Black Elite kisses the white man boots. The Black Elite want to be like white people, love white people, respect white people, honor white people, and are the mouthpiece and lapdog for white folks. So they're nobody to look up to and honor, and a lot of them in Hollywood. A lot of these elite motherfuckers are in Hollywood. Their children are in Hollywood and in the music industry. A lot of them are the majority of them are part of fraternities and a part of secret societies. Raw and uncut. I'm gonna prove that. Bill was a part of a fraternity too. He was a part of a secret society too. Bill Cosby was a part of that shit. And yes, they threw his ass under the bus. Rightfully so. But let me play this right quick before my show is over, which is really over. But let me play this right quick and I shall return.
Now, this country has got a psychological history. There was a master race, there was a slave race. And though there isn't any political slavery anymore, those same old attitudes have hung around. I mean, the burning part of Burn, Baby Burn is right here in this classroom.
Okay, that's not what I want to play, but that's still a good excerpt to even bring back up. He said there's a master race and a slave race. And if anybody listened to my the week before last podcast session I did on this, and my sister joined me on the show, and I was explaining to her, trying to convey to her, there's no such thing as a master race and there's no such thing as a slave race. I understand she was trying to talk about how back then those who were in slavery were born into it. That doesn't mean that there's a slave. That doesn't perpetuate or validate a slave race. There is no such thing as a slave race. That means that child was born into an environment that he had or she had no control over. That doesn't make them a slave race. It makes the white man a devil, coming into another people's country and setting up shop and creating a whole new environment that's not conducive to those people. That makes the white man a devil. And it makes his children today still devils. Raw and uncut. This is the one I actually want to play. Here it is right here.
Bill Cosby lost his temper with a publicist Thursday who interrupted when the AP was questioning him. The veteran comedian and TV star was asked about parenting in the black community and whether things have improved since President Barack Obama took office.
A problem exists when you're up to, in a big city, 400 and some murders of teenage kids in their early 20s.
One more quick question.
Yeah, but I'm trying to answer, and if you had shut up, I really would have finished it.
I'm sorry.
I swear.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Stop.
Okay.
It's important that we look at these murders and find out why. And behind them, Dr. Poussant and I have found that it's because children are born and they're coming up and they don't have an idea of who clearly is the biological person, the father or the mother, sometimes both. And this hurts. And then there's an old saying, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people, hurt people.
There you go right there. That nigga is so disconnected. He did that interview during a time, this was during under Barack Obama's administration. This is way before he went to jail. This is during the allegations, but this is way before those charges got where he had to go back and forth to court like he had been going. And he was asked about due to the fact of all these unarmed killings and shootings, that these cops were, these serial killing cops was killing unarmed black people. And that was his comment. That was his crazy ass comment. Talking about kids not knowing who their parents are and people will kill people. That nigga, Bill Cosby's a house nigga, people. He didn't even try to comprehend the so-called black community. He didn't even try to comprehend. The elite don't care to do so because they can't. And that's why he could not. You got police killing and at the time, I mean, it was in the hundreds at the time of these unarmed people, brothers and sisters and kids being killed by fanatic, racist, serial killing cops. And that was his comment, people. That was his comment. And you got Negroes who still love that house nigga. It astonishes me. It just makes my mind like, wow. Wow. So, there you go right there. I got some more information I wanted. I ain't got time today to go all in it like I want to because my show is actually over, people. But I will be back to drop nothing but the raw and uncut next. Not next Sunday, but the Sunday after next to drop nothing but the raw and uncut, people, because I love you. I love you. You can always chime in. You can always join me here at the Black Village. Every other Sunday, every other indigenous Sunday. It won't cost you a dime, just a bit of your conscious time. You can chime in at 857. Excuse me. You can chime in. You can excuse me. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here as I try to tell, you can chime in 857-232-0155. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a bit of your conscious time to chime in. Bring your thoughts and your opinions. Drop in what you think about what I'm saying, or if you got something new to bring to the table, it's all gravy. We can drop up, we can vibrate on it. You feel me? I don't like getting off topic, but if we can deal with it briefly, we can do that. But if or catch me on a session where we can talk about it, or call, we can do that. We can vibrate. You feel me? And conference code 947595. Again, that is 857-232-0155. Conference code 947595. And you know what, people? I gotta go. My show is actually over. I didn't went over my time. I can't help myself. I got to disseminate truth to the populace. We got to stop honoring people that don't deserve honor. We are in this is the month of February, so-called Black History Month. I don't even like that term because I'm not black. There's no such thing as Black History Month. There's American history. We can have an American History Month, people. Let's have an American History Month. How about that? How about have a American History Month every month? But what's an American History Month? Telling the truth about who we are as Americans. American Indians, American Aborigines. Telling the truth about our true culture and our true history. Without fabrications and lies and artificial construct identities that these white devils want to feel comfortable with, people. Huh? We got to be a people of truth. We got to stop letting this white devil break us down where we compromise our integrity. We got to stop allowing the white devil and his system, his lapdogs, his house nigga, his fanatical racist coward rednecks. We got to stop letting these fools detour us, causing us to compromise, causing us to give up, causing us to raise children who are house niggas and don't even realize that they're operating in house nigga mode. And we got to be that strong American Aboriginal community that the Great Spirit Mother and our ancestors want us to be, people. We got to aspire to be the people. We got to do this. It doesn't matter if it take one person at a time, two people at a time. We got to come together as a people. We got to be a people of integrity, a people of truth, a people of love. We got to bring back our Aboriginal culture, our Aboriginal principles, our Aboriginal practices, our Aboriginal way of eating, our Aboriginal standards, our Aboriginal writings, our Aboriginal education, Aboriginal culture back into the so-called black family, people, so that we can be a true people, a true American people, because we're better than what we've been portraying ourselves. We've allowed the white man to recreate us and make us into either a monster or a confused Negro. We either criminals and thieves and robbers and gangbangers and dope dealers and pimps, or we're sellouts, house niggas, American Negroes, African American, Black American. We don't have to have none of that. We can be the indigenous people that our ancestors were before these white devils colonized our country. We don't have to let these white devils colonize our minds. Raw and uncut. So I will be back, and I will be indigenously back, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut the Sunday after next, people. You feel me? So join me then. You feel me? Until then, I gotta go. So as I always say, may the great mother bring us together under the wings of her peace and her love. And as I always say, I love chicken. So love, peace, and chicken grease. I gotta go. I'm out.
Aboriginal people, 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 Aboriginal people.
No matter where you go in every country, we in there. Most of us did not come on slave ships, we've been here. Indian just means amalgamated more. The U.S. tried to wipe us out in 3 Seminole wars. For each Aboriginal, 7 troops died. 90% of Indians were reclassified as Negroes. We fought European foes. Africa's great, but we don't look under our nose. Or now here's the Old Man River, or the Massey Seagull, knock out the Mississippi. We're the Yamasee people and others here like the Washita, the Chocos in Colombia, Dadiendes in Panama, the Garifunas and more. We're prisoners of war. Our titles, nationalities, and birthrights ignored. We got a huge missing gap in our past and been divided into race of some type of caste. Everyone else has a language, where's mine? Cause ours is long gone like your grandpa's hairline.
Aboriginal people, Aboriginal people,